Hello, my name is Alex Harrington. I'm 28 years old, and I work as a carpenter right here in the vibrant, rainy city of Portland, Oregon. My days are filled with the scent of fresh cut wood, the hum of power tools, and the satisfaction of turning raw materials into something functional and beautiful. I share a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a quirky old building on the east side of town with my roommate, Tyler Brooks, who's been my best friend since our wild college days at the University of Oregon. Back then, we bonded over late night study sessions, cheap beer, and dreams of making it big. Him in graphic design, me in craftsmanship. The apartment itself is nothing to write home about: faded wallpaper peeling in the corners, a kitchen so small you have to sidestep each other to open the fridge, a living room that's more of a workshop extension with my tools scattered everywhere, and Tyler's gaming setup dominating one wall with its glowing screens and tangled wires. The bedrooms are cozy at best, claustrophobic at worst, but it's affordable and it's ours. Or at least, it was our little bachelor pad until life threw us a curveball that changed everything. What I'm about to tell you is a story that still replays in my mind like a favorite movie, even though months have passed. I think about it every single day. The subtle ways fate intervenes, the courage it takes to seize a moment, and how one person's presence can redefine what home means. It all culminated in that unforgettable morning, Sophia standing in our tiny kitchen at 6:00 a.m., clad in nothing but my worn-out flannel shirt, her long dark hair messy from sleep, and a radiant smile that stopped my heart cold. "Alex," she whispered, her voice a blend of vulnerability and resolve, "I've been thinking about this moment for weeks now." The shirt grazed her thighs just enough to tease, and in that charged silence, the air between us crackled with unspoken possibilities. But to truly appreciate how we arrived at that pivotal instant, I need to rewind and lay it all out from the start. This isn't merely a tale of romance, it's a reflection on timing, the choices we make or avoid, and the profound impact of finding someone who truly sees you. Not the surface version, but the raw, complicated core. It kicked off on an ordinary Tuesday in early September, the kind where the summer heat lingers but the evenings hint at autumn's approach. Tyler and I were sprawled on our ancient, sagging couch, the one we'd salvaged from a curbside giveaway and patched up with duct tape, surrounded by the typical disarray of our shared space. Power tools from my latest commission piece lay haphazardly on the floor, wood shavings forming little drifts like indoor snow, and Tyler's assortment of video game controllers and empty energy drink cans added to the clutter. We were devouring takeout Chinese food from our go-to-spot down the block: greasy lo mein, crispy egg rolls and sweet and sour chicken that always hit the spot after a grueling day. Netflix was streaming some mindless comedy in the background, the laughter track blending with our own chuckles as we unwound. The apartment smelled like a mix of soy sauce, fried oil, and the faint piney aroma from my woodworking. We weren't really watching the show, it was more about the ritual of relaxing together after work. That's when Tyler, mid-bite of his noodles, casually broached the subject that would alter our lives. "Hey, man, Sophia's hitting a rough patch right now," he said, his tone shifting from casual to slightly earnest as he slurped a stray noodle. I nodded vaguely, my mouth stuffed with an egg roll, chewing thoughtfully. I'd heard about Sophia over the years in that peripheral way you learn about a friend's siblings, through offhand anecdotes and holiday stories. She was Tyler's older sister by 7 years, making her 35, and she worked in marketing for a buzzy tech startup downtown. From Tyler's tales, she sounded like a force: independent, quick-witted, with a history of making impulsive decisions that miraculously worked out, like quitting a stable job to travel Europe for 6 months, or launching side hustles that turned profitable. He always spoke of her with a brotherly blend of pride, affection, and mild exasperation, painting her as the family adventurer who kept everyone on their toes. "What kind of rough patch are we talking?" I asked, dipping my chopsticks back into the carton for more chicken, my curiosity piqued more out of politeness than anything else. I wiped my mouth with a napkin, leaning back against the couch cushions. Tyler set his container down on the coffee table, which was already littered with remotes and coasters, and ran a hand through his messy hair. "She just ended things with her boyfriend of 3 years. David, the finance guy. They were shacked up in this fancy apartment in the Pearl District, you know? The kind with floor-to-ceiling windows, a doorman, and rent that could buy a small house elsewhere. But he was the one holding the financial reins. Great credit. Steady 6-figure salary from his investment firm. Sophia's got a solid job and some savings tucked away from her freelance gigs, but she's playing it smart, not wanting to blow through it all at once. Her lease ends next month, and she's on the hunt for something more permanent, But in the meantime, she needs a crash pad. He paused there, fixing me with that signature look of his, the one where his eyebrows arched slightly, signaling he was about to hit me with a favor request. I could practically hear the gears turning in his head as he gauged my reaction. I was thinking, maybe she could stay here for a bit. Just a few weeks tops. She'd chip in for rent, no question, and she's the opposite of messy. Super organized, responsible. Not like our cousin Jake, who turned my old place into a frat house disaster last summer. I took a moment to process, glancing around our modest setup. The apartment was far from spacious, 2 compact bedrooms that barely fit queen beds and dressers. A single bathroom with a finicky shower that alternated between scalding and freezing, a kitchen where counter space was a premium and you had to choreograph movements to avoid collisions, and the living room that doubled as my impromptu workshop for smaller carpentry jobs. Evenings often found me there, sanding edges or assembling joints under a harsh desk lamp, the air thick with sawdust despite my best efforts to contain it. Adding a third person seemed like a recipe for chaos, but Tyler was more than a roommate. He was family in all but blood. We'd navigated job losses, breakups, and cross-country moves together. His actual family was tight-knit, with roots in a Mexican-American community that emphasized loyalty and support. Something I admired from afar, since my own upbringing was more reserved, with parents who prioritized independence over involvement. Turning him down felt disloyal. "All right, sure," I said finally, shrugging as if it were a minor inconvenience. "As long as she's okay with the constant mess and doesn't freak out over the sound of drills or sanders going off at weird times, I can try to keep the workshop contained." Tyler's face broke into a wide grin, relief washing over him like a wave. "Dude, you're the best. Seriously, a total lifesaver. It'll be short term, she's already scouting listings. A month at most, and she'll be out of our hair." Those words, of course, turned out to be hilariously optimistic. What started as a temporary arrangement evolved into something far deeper, reshaping our lives in ways none of us could have predicted. Sophia arrived on a crisp Saturday afternoon. The kind where the sun filters through turning leaves, casting golden hues over the neighborhood. I was knee-deep in a project, meticulously sanding the edges of a custom coffee table for a picky client who wanted mid-century modern vibes with reclaimed oak. The rhythmic rasp of sandpaper against wood was my zen zone, drowning out the world, when I heard animated voices drifting from the hallway. Tyler's boisterous laugh mingled with a softer, more melodic tone, one laced with a subtle Spanish inflection that hinted at her bilingual upbringing. I paused, wiping sweat and dust from my forehead with the back of my arm, and looked up as the door swung open. Tyler lumbered in first, hauling a hefty suitcase that thumped against the floor, his face flushed from the stairs. Behind him stepped Sophia Ramirez, and in that moment, something in me shifted. A subtle click, like a lock tumbling into place. She wasn't the image I'd conjured from Tyler's descriptions. I'd expected someone corporate, sharp, perhaps aloof or intensely professional, given her marketing career. Instead, she exuded an effortless authenticity, standing about 5'4", with an athletic build from her weekend hikes. Her dark hair falling in loose waves past her shoulders, framing a face with expressive brown eyes that scanned the room with intelligent curiosity. She was dressed casually in fitted jeans, a simple black shirt that hugged her figure just right, and practical sneakers. Nothing ostentatious, but her presence commanded attention through sheer poise, the kind forged from navigating life's twists and turns. "Sophia, meet Alex, the guy keeping this place from falling apart," Tyler announced with a chuckle, setting down her bag near the door. "Alex, this is my sister Sophia, the one I told you about." She stepped forward, extending her hand with a confident grip that matched her steady gaze, her smile genuine yet reserved, as if she was assessing the new environment without judgment. "Thank you so much for letting me invade your space," she said, her voice warm and inviting, carrying that slight lilt that made even simple words sound musical. "I promise to be a low-maintenance guest and get out of your way as soon as I find something stable." "No worries at all," I replied, suddenly hyper, aware of the sawdust clinging to my clothes and the chaotic state of the living room. I shook her hand, noting the calluses on her palms. Perhaps from rock climbing, as Tyler had once mentioned. "Welcome to our not-so-glamorous abode. Feel free to make yourself comfortable amid the mayhem." She let out a light laugh, her eyes crinkling at the corners in a way that felt disarmingly real. "I've survived Tyler's dorm rooms in college. Trust me, this is luxury by comparison." "Ouch, sis!" "I've evolved since then," Tyler shot back playfully, but his grin showed he relished the teasing. "The bar was underground low, but I've dug my way up. Marginally," Sophia quipped, her tone affectionate as she glanced at her brother. Their sibling dynamic was evident immediately. Easy, rooted in shared memories and mutual respect. And it made me smile despite myself. The initial week was a period of cautious adaptation, like new roommates testing boundaries in a shared orbit. Sophia lived up to Tyler's assurances. She was impeccably neat, folding her bedding on the pull-out couch each morning and confining her belongings to a single corner of the living room. She'd wash her dishes immediately after meals, leaving the sink spotless. And she had an intuitive knack for disappearing when the space felt crowded, grabbing her laptop to work at a local cafe or taking long walks along the Willamette River to clear her head. Through these early days I gathered snippets of her personality in the organic way you do with someone new under your roof. She was a dedicated early riser, often up before dawn to brew a pot of coffee so potent it could power a small engine, its rich aroma wafting through the apartment like a morning ritual. On Wednesday evenings without fail, she'd pace the living room during calls with her mother, fluidly alternating between English and Spanish, her laughter echoing like a melody as she recounted her week. And while focused on her laptop, tackling marketing strategies or client emails, she'd hum softly obscure indie songs or Latin tunes from her childhood, adding a layer of tranquility to our otherwise noisy household. Our first substantial conversation unfolded on a quiet Thursday evening, the apartment unusually still with Tyler out on a date from one of those swipe-right apps. I was in the kitchen, preparing a straightforward stir-fry, fresh vegetables chopped on the cutting board, garlic mincing under my knife, the sizzle of oil in the pan filling the air with savory promise. Sophia emerged from the bathroom, fresh from a shower, her damp hair releasing a subtle floral shampoo scent that mingled with the cooking aromas. She was dressed in relaxed lounge pants and an oversized sweater, looking comfortable yet put together. "That smells absolutely amazing," she commented, leaning in slightly to peer at the pan, her curiosity evident. "What's the trick to making it look so effortless?" I stirred the veggies, flipping them with a wrist flick, and smiled at her interest. "Honestly, no fancy trick, just quality ingredients like fresh ginger and garlic, and timing so the veggies stay crisp instead of soggy. Overcooking is the enemy. Would you mind if I observe? I'm on a mission to expand beyond my staples of cereal, yogurt, and whatever's on DoorDash. Cooking has always intimidated me, but I'm determined to learn." "Absolutely, pull up a stool," I said, scooting over to make room at the narrow counter. "The secret starts with mise en place. Prep everything beforehand. Once the pan's hot, it's go time, no room for hesitation." As she settled in, close enough that our arms nearly brushed, her presence was distracting in a pleasant way, her questions drawing me out as I demonstrated. By the time the stir-fry was plated, she'd taken charge of setting the small table with mismatched plates and opening a bottle of red wine she'd thoughtfully bought earlier that day. A mid-range Cabernet that paired surprisingly well. We sat down, and what began as casual chit-chat evolved into a flowing dialogue. She dove into her latest project, crafting a marketing campaign for a startup specializing in sustainable furniture, emphasizing eco-friendly materials and ethical sourcing. "The challenge is convincing consumers to invest in pieces that last a lifetime instead of fast fashion furniture," she explained, her fork gesturing animatedly. "People say they want to go green, but when the price tag hits, they default to cheap imports that end up in landfills after a year. I'm trying to shift that mindset, show the value in durability and story." I found myself nodding vigorously, her passion resonating with my own experiences. "I get that completely. In carpentry, clients come to me dreaming of bespoke tables or shelves, but they balk at the cost. They don't realize the hours of selecting the right wood, the precision in joinery, or how a well-made piece becomes an heirloom. It's not just building, it's investing in longevity." Her eyes brightened, leaning forward. "Precisely! It's about appreciating the craftsmanship behind it, the narrative of each material. We need to educate on that process to change behaviors." That dinner conversation was a turning point, cracking open a door to deeper connection. From then on our interactions gained layers. Mornings transformed into cherished routines, Sophia at the kitchen table, typing away on her laptop with a focused furrow in her brow, while I sipped black coffee and scanned news on my phone. We'd exchange observations, her on a tricky client brief, me on a stubborn wood grain, and her questions always probed deeper, encouraging introspection. "How do you navigate when a client's vision clashes with what's structurally sound?" she'd ask one day. Or, "What makes you decide to persist with a flawed piece versus starting over?" Her insights were sharp. "You approach your work with such intentionality, Alex. It's evident you pour your soul into it." I'd brush it off modestly. "It's just furniture, really. But internally her words validated something I'd long felt but never voiced. No, it's more than that, she'd counter firmly, her gaze steady. You're crafting legacies, items that will witness family meals, late-night talks, life's milestones. That's significant, it has heart. As the calendar flipped from September to October, the leaves outside turning fiery shades of red and orange, Sophia's temporary stint began feeling anything but. She'd toured several apartments, but each had flaws: exorbitant rent in a desirable neighborhood, inconvenient commutes to her office, or landlords with red flags from online reviews. Tyler shrugged it off, content with the arrangement, and if I'm honest, so was I. She'd woven herself into our daily fabric so seamlessly it was hard to imagine the place without her. Twice a week, she'd commandeer the kitchen for elaborate dinners drawn from her grandmother's recipes. Aromatic enchiladas simmered in homemade sauce, tamales wrapped with care, or pozole brimming with spices. As we ate, she'd share vivid stories of her family's gatherings, boisterous holidays in her parents' home, filled with laughter, music, and the clatter of plates, a stark contrast to my own subdued family meals where silence often reigned and emotions stayed bottled. In our culture, food is how we express love, she'd say, watching Tyler and me with amusement as we went for seconds. Abula always said if you cook with your whole heart, it'll shine through in every bite. Well, I can definitely feel the love here, I'd respond sincerely, savoring the flavors. This isn't just food, it's an experience. October's first cold snap arrived with a vengeance, blanketing Portland in crisp air and early frosts, prompting us to crank up the heat and layer on sweaters. Sophia's presence amplified the apartment's newfound coziness. She'd curl up on the couch in oversized knits that somehow made her look both approachable and elegantly composed, her laptop balanced on her knees as she worked late. I found myself increasingly drawn to her, not just physically, though her natural grace was undeniable, but to the thoughtful way she engaged with the world. Her small acts of kindness accumulated. Remembering I preferred my coffee black and strong, surprising us with groceries that anticipated our needs, or offering quiet encouragement after a tough day. Your sister's something special, I confided to Tyler one evening when Sophia was out meeting a work friend for drinks. We were nursing beers on the couch, the TV droning in the background. Yeah, she's always been the glue in our family, he replied, his tone fond. Even as kids, she was the one organizing everything, making sure everyone felt included. That's why she's here instead of crashing with mom and dad. They love her, but they still treat her like the impulsive 25-year-old, offering advice she doesn't need. He paused, taking a sip. She told me the other day this is the first place in years where she feels truly seen as an adult, without the judgment. Those words echoed in my mind long after, stirring questions about what it meant to be seen. That weekend, with Tyler away visiting their parents for a family obligation, Sophia and I had the apartment to ourselves for the first time. A setup that felt both liberating and loaded with potential. I was immersed in a challenging commission. A dining table for a young couple's first home, wrestling with wood that resisted my design due to unpredictable grain patterns. The frustration mounted as I measured and re-measured, the scent of oak heavy in the air. Sophia appeared with 2 steaming mugs of coffee, her hair tied back in a casual ponytail. Figured you could use a break from battling that beast, she said, placing one mug on a coaster near my workbench and settling into a nearby chair with her own. Thanks, this hits the spot, I said gratefully, wiping my hands on a rag before taking a sip. This project's testing my patience, the grain's not cooperating with the joints I planned. Tell me more. What's the hang-up? She asked, her interest genuine as she leaned in. I launched into the details: the tension between aesthetic flow and structural stability, the need to adapt without compromising vision, the subtle art of listening to the wood's voice, to avoid cracks or warps over time. As I spoke, I realized I was delving deeper than usual, explaining dovetail techniques and humidity considerations that typically bored listeners. But Sophia absorbed it all, her questions insightful. So, it's like negotiating with nature, balancing what you want against what's feasible. Spot on, I replied, impressed by her grasp. It's a conversation pushed too hard, and it falls apart. She smiled softly, her eyes reflecting admiration. That's poetic, Alex. The way you describe it, that passion is really attractive. The word, attractive, hung there, heavy with implication, sending a warm flush through me. I met her gaze. I could say the same about your work, the drive to change how people consume, to promote sustainability. That's inspiring. For a beat, we simply looked at each other, the air thick with the unspoken attraction that had been simmering. Alex. She began hesitantly, then trailed off, shaking her head. What is it? I prompted gently. It's complicated, But can I ask you something philosophical? Shoot. Do you think timing is everything, like do things happen when they're meant to, or do we create our own opportunities? I considered it carefully, setting down my mug. It's a mix, I think. Sometimes the universe aligns things perfectly, but often, we hold back because of fear. Blaming bad timing as an excuse. We have more agency than we admit, choosing to act despite imperfections. She nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. That's what I was afraid you'd say. It means I can't hide behind circumstances anymore. The conversation lingered, amplifying the tension between us in the days that followed. I became acutely aware of her. The melody of her humming during chores, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear while reading, her genuine laughter at Tyler's corny jokes. And I caught her watching me too, with a softness that stirred hope and nerves. The climax arrived on a rainy Wednesday in late October. Tyler was pulling a late shift at his design firm, leaving Sophia and me alone on the couch, watching a documentary on sustainable architecture, a shared interest in design and eco-principles. During a break, she turned to me. I've been mulling over what you said about timing and choices. Her voice was steady but vulnerable. I think I've been using my breakup and this temporary setup as shields to avoid admitting what I want. My heart raced. And what do you want? This? She said, gesturing between us. You. The way you listen, challenge me, make me feel valued. But it's complicated. I'm your roommate's sister, older, still healing. All the reasons it could go wrong. But. I encouraged. But I can't ignore how right it feels. Have you been feeling it too? I took a breath, choosing honesty. Yes, more than I should. Mornings with you are the highlight of my day. The apartment feels empty without your energy. But I've held back for the same reasons, not wanting to complicate things. What if complication is worth it? She whispered. We talked for hours that night, the documentary forgotten as rain pattered against the windows. We dissected the obstacles, Tyler's reaction, the age difference and its implications for life stages, her recent heartbreak and need for space, the logistics of her living situation. But beneath it all, we acknowledged the magnetic pull, the joy in our conversations, the mutual respect for each other's passions, the way we'd unconsciously sensed our routines. I don't want to rush, she said as midnight approached. But I refuse to pretend this isn't real. Then let's not, I agreed, slow and honest, that's our pace. As she stood to head to the couch, she paused, leaned down, and kissed me. A soft, intentional press of lips that ignited everything. I've wanted that for weeks, she admitted with a smile. Maybe longer, I confessed, touching her cheek. That kiss unlocked a new chapter. We weren't official overnight, but the acknowledgement shifted us, casual touches in the kitchen, lingering goodnights, deeper late night talks when Tyler was asleep. We explored our pasts. Her ex, David, who viewed her ambitions as hobbies, my string of casual relationships that never deepened because no one grasped my dedication to craft. I was settling, she reflected one evening over cleanup. Checking boxes for stability, ignoring if it felt authentic. What feels authentic now? The way you engage with my ideas, value my input. November's early snow blanketed the city, mirroring the intimacy building. Sophia's apartment hunt stalled, weather, holidays, but really, reluctance to leave. Our physical connection simmered, restrained by shared space and caution, but the pull was intense. Brushes while cooking, her head on my shoulder during movies. The breakthrough came mid-November. A Friday with Tyler away at his girlfriend's. The apartment hours, we cooked an elaborate meal. Her leading with a family recipe, me assisting, our movements a synchronized dance in the tight kitchen. As she stirred sauce, excitement bubbled over her new project, marketing reclaimed wood furniture. Your talk of conversations with materials inspired me. Consumers need that story. Absolutely, I said. They're buying history, craftsmanship, values. God, I love how your mind works, she blurted, then froze. We stared, the energy shifting. She closed the gap, kissing me with urgency. I'm done with slow, she murmured. Are you sure? Yes, you make me feel alive. That night was a revelation, tender, passionate, a union of bodies and souls where we felt truly seen. The next morning, I awoke to her in my flannel shirt, brewing coffee. I found an apartment, she confessed. But I haven't committed. I want to stay if you'll have me. More than anything, I said. We told Tyler soon after initial surprise, he warmed. It makes sense, you both glow around each other. Sophia stayed, we reconfigured the space. She launched her consultancy. Focusing on artisans, I pursued creative commissions. Our love deepened in quiet ways. Circling back to that dawn kitchen moment, I love you, she declared. We made love there, urgent and profound. Happiness, I've learned, is in the everyday, the choices to choose each other. We're eyeing a bigger place, but savor the now. Tyler moves out soon, will repurpose his room. Love isn't fireworks. It's coffee at dawn, honest talks, embracing the complicated. If this story stirs you, what's your bad timing barrier? What small step toward your desired life? Share in comments. Subscribe for tales of quiet transformations. Yours might begin with a simple yes.